Ladies and gentlemen, history has been shaped by countless mysteries, but few are as chilling and perplexing as the case of the Zodiac Killer. More than 5 decades have passed since the first known attacks, yet the identity of the person behind these crimes remains unknown. This case has puzzled law enforcement, historians, and the public alike, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. Between 1968 and 1969, a series of brutal and unprovoked murders took place in Northern California. The victims, young couples and unsuspecting individuals, were targeted in what seemed like random acts of violence. But this was no ordinary criminal. The person responsible wanted to be known, to be feared. Letters were sent to newspapers, containing cryptic messages and symbols, taunting police and the public. Some of these coded messages were solved, while others remain a mystery to this day. Law enforcement agencies worked tirelessly, gathering evidence, questioning suspects, and chasing leads. Yet, despite their best efforts, the case remains open. Many theories have emerged, and numerous individuals have been suspected over the years, but conclusive proof has always remained just out of reach. The fascination with this case has never faded. Books, films, and documentaries have kept the story alive, feeding into the mystery of who the Zodiac Killer truly was. Did this person vanish without a trace? Or were they hiding in plain sight all along? Could the answer still be out there, waiting to be discovered? As we reflect on this dark chapter of history, we must remember the victims, those who lost their lives to senseless violence. While the case remains unsolved, one thing is certain. The legacy of the Zodiac Killer endures, a haunting reminder of the questions that still beg to be answered. I end this section. The focus is on setting the stage for the Zodiac Killer's crimes and introducing the main context of the case. The Zodiac Killer is one of the most notorious and mysterious serial killers in U.S. history. Operating in Northern California during the late 1960s and early 1970s, the killer committed a series of brutal murders, mostly targeting young couples. These murders were not just random acts of violence. The killer actively sought attention, often taunting the media and police with cryptic letters and codes. The case is significant because it remains officially unsolved, despite extensive efforts by law enforcement and widespread media attention. The killer's apparent desire for recognition and the chilling nature of his communications with the press made this case one of the most intriguing and terrifying in the history of criminal investigations. The Zodiac Killer has left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness, remaining an unresolved mystery to this day. The crimes refers to the specific acts of violence carried out by the Zodiac Killer and the nature of these killings. The Zodiac Killer's crimes began in the late 1960s, primarily in the San Francisco Bay Area of Northern California. The first confirmed murder took place in December 1968, when 2 teenagers, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, were shot and killed while parked in a remote area. The killer's next victims, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, were also shot in a car in July 1969. While Mageau survived, Ferrin was killed, and this attack set the stage for the killer's infamous pattern. What made these crimes stand out was not only their randomness, but also the eerie, methodical nature of the killings. The Zodiac Killer didn't just commit murder. He sent cryptic messages to newspapers after the attacks, claiming responsibility for the crimes and often mocking the police. The letters contained cryptograms and ciphers, challenging authorities and even the public to decode them. The killer was able to elude the police despite multiple victims, and he often used taunting language in his letters, showing no remorse or fear of being caught. The Zodiac Killer's killings were chillingly calculated, as he seemed to be more interested in the psychological impact of his actions, as well as in playing a game with law enforcement and the media, rather than just committing murder. This made his crimes especially unsettling and cemented his reputation as one of the most infamous serial killers in history. The cryptic letters refers to the Zodiac Killer's communication with the media and the public through letters that often included codes and ciphers. One of the most distinctive aspects of the Zodiac Killer's crimes was his consistent use of letters, which he sent to local newspapers and police. These letters contain not just detailed confessions of his murders, but also complex cryptograms and ciphers. The killer challenged the media, law enforcement, and even the general public to solve these puzzles, often expressing disdain for their inability to do so. The letters were chilling and taunting in tone, furthering the killer's psychological game. In one of his letters, he wrote, "I like killing people because it is so much fun," and in others, he mocked the police for their failure to catch him. Some of the ciphers were solved, revealing messages where the killer identified himself and his motives, but others remain unsolved to this day. One of the most famous ciphers, known as the 340-character cipher, was unsolved for many years and remained a symbol of the killer's elusive nature. It wasn't until 2020 that a team of codebreakers finally deciphered it, although the message revealed little about the killer's identity, leaving many questions still unanswered. These cryptic letters not only increased the mystery surrounding the Zodiac Killer, but also highlighted his need for attention and control over the investigation. By sending these letters and ciphers, the killer seemed to enjoy the power he held over both the public and law enforcement, further deepening the chilling nature of his crimes. The investigations refers to the extensive efforts made by law enforcement agencies to solve the case of the Zodiac Killer, despite the lack of success. After each of the Zodiac Killer's crimes, local police and federal agencies, including the FBI, launched investigations to track down the perpetrator. The killer's ability to elude capture and his taunting communication made it one of the most challenging and high-profile cases in law enforcement history. Several police departments collaborated, pooling resources and manpower, but the case remained unsolved. The investigations involved a variety of strategies: interviews with potential witnesses, forensic evidence analysis, sketching composite images based on witness descriptions, and, of course, attempting to decode the Zodiac's cryptic letters and ciphers. Police worked tirelessly, trying to find links between the murders and identify potential suspects, but each lead seemed to lead nowhere. The Zodiac's ability to stay one step ahead of the investigators was a key element of the case, further frustrating law enforcement efforts. Over the years, many suspects have been proposed, but none were definitively linked to the crimes. Some of the more well-known suspects include individuals with criminal backgrounds or mental health issues, but without concrete evidence, the police could not bring any of them to trial. In fact, many investigators came to believe that the Zodiac Killer may have been someone who was highly intelligent, calculating, and careful not to leave behind traceable evidence. Despite all the efforts made to capture the Zodiac Killer, the case remains open, and no official resolution has ever been reached. This enduring lack of closure has only added to the mystery, and the case is often seen as one of the greatest unsolved serial killer investigations in American history. Suspects and theories refers to the various individuals who have been considered as possible suspects in the case of the Zodiac Killer, along with the theories surrounding his identity. Over the years, many people have been proposed as potential suspects in the Zodiac Killer case. Some of these individuals were known criminals, while others were ordinary people with peculiar behaviors or connections to the crimes. However, despite numerous investigations and theories, no one has been definitively proven to be the Zodiac Killer. One well-known suspect was Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted child molester who came under suspicion after a series of circumstantial factors, including his proximity to the crime scenes, strange behavior, and interest in the case. Allen was questioned several times and even had a history of making odd statements, but no physical evidence ever linked him to the murders. DNA analysis in the 2000s also failed to match him with any evidence from the crime scenes. Other suspects have been proposed, including people with mental health issues, those who had connections to certain locations or victims, and even individuals who had been incarcerated for unrelated crimes. Some theories suggest that the Zodiac Killer may have been someone with a background in law enforcement or military service, due to his calculated approach and ability to evade capture. A popular theory is that the Zodiac Killer may have had multiple identities or could have been someone who lived under the radar, without a known criminal record. Another theory posits that the killer could have been someone with local ties to the area who took pleasure in toying with the police and media. Despite all these theories, no concrete evidence has ever been found to definitively identify the Zodiac Killer. As a result, the question of who the killer truly was remains one of the most perplexing aspects of the case. Theories about the Zodiac's identity continue to circulate, but until new evidence or breakthroughs are made, the killer's true identity will likely remain a mystery. The lasting mystery refers to the enduring intrigue and cultural impact of the Zodiac Killer case, despite it remaining unsolved. The Zodiac Killer has become one of the most infamous and captivating unsolved serial killer cases in history, largely due to the chilling nature of the crimes, the cryptic letters, and the killer's ability to elude capture. The mystery surrounding the case has persisted for decades, continuing to spark public fascination and speculation. The unsolved status of the case has made it a subject of widespread media coverage, books, documentaries, and films. Numerous true crime enthusiasts, amateur sleuths, and investigators continue to study the case, looking for new evidence, trying to decipher old clues, and proposing new theories about the killer's identity. Many people remain obsessed with solving the puzzle, but the case remains open, with no conclusive answers to the most pressing questions. The Zodiac Killer's ability to taunt the police and media with letters, ciphers, and his apparent anonymity only adds to the mystery. In addition, the fact that there are still unsolved ciphers from the killer makes the case even more intriguing, as it feels like there might still be hidden clues waiting to be uncovered. Even though some ciphers have been cracked, many aspects of the killer's psyche and motivations remain unclear. This ongoing mystery has made the Zodiac Killer a part of American criminal folklore. The case has influenced pop culture, inspiring movies, documentaries, books, and discussions on various platforms. People are still drawn to the idea that the killer may have been someone who lived among us, hiding in plain sight, and that there could still be untold secrets waiting to be revealed. As time goes on, the identity of the Zodiac Killer may never be fully revealed, but the case will likely continue to capture the imagination of people for generations to come as one of the most fascinating and chilling criminal mysteries in history. In closing, the story of the Zodiac Killer is not just about a series of unsolved crimes. It's about the lingering questions, the unrelenting pursuit of justice, and the chilling possibility that the killer may still be out there. While decades have passed since the last known murder, the case continues to haunt us, keeping alive a sense of fear and fascination. The Zodiac Killer's ability to outsmart law enforcement and remain unidentified has cemented his place in criminal history as a symbol of the unsolved, the unknown, and the terrifying. As we remember the victims and reflect on the mystery that still surrounds their killer, we are reminded that not all stories are meant to have clear endings. Sometimes, the mystery is all we are left with, an enigma that sparks our curiosity and compels us to keep searching for answers, even if those answers may never come. Thank you